How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex, and my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Got our special featured fan, Matt Angus, today with us, talking some Giants football, looking ahead to Week 8 against the Seattle Seahawks. And we have a lot to discuss, ranging from Kadarius Toney to receivers that we might want to look at on the trade market, and an impact player that we each think has to show up on Sunday at 4:25 against the Seattle Seahawks. Get this team to 7-1 and hopefully give us a chance. Go into the bye week, get a little bit healthier, return, and finally put this season in the purview and kind of look at the playoffs as a realistic expectation. And I think right now we're all feeling like that is very realistic. But Matt, before we dive into kind of these great topics we have in front of us, how do you today, my friend?
Doing great, man. Doing great. I've been a fan of the podcast for a couple of years now. I know that you see me on Twitter here and there with a little bit of comments of my own. Definitely draft time was a big time for me to listen to you guys. You guys had a lot of great opinions, and you guys really made me a fan just by having the professionalism that you do.
I appreciate that. It's been a long 3 years since we started creating content. And if you've been with us for that amount of time, you've heard us go crazy. You've heard us throw things. You've heard us be pretty pissed off. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have sympathized with that and felt the same emotions.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad we can kind of share that together now on these Fan Fridays. But Anthony, we have a pretty big, week coming up. Kadarius Toney's no longer on the team. Some pretty crazy stuff. How are you feeling about this squad right now? And, we'll dive into, Matt, I'll give you an opportunity to give your take on Kadarius Toney. But Anthony, what are your feelings?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about the team. We're 6-1 coming off of a big win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, late fourth quarter comeback. As always, that just seems to be the way the Giants get it done this year. And it's really exciting and fun to watch. But, as we look ahead to the rest of the season, we've got the bye week coming up after this game with Seattle. I think that's going to be important for the Giants just to rest up, get all those guys who are a little bit hobbled, even Kenny Galladay. I know not everybody's too crazy about Kenny Galladay anymore, but just getting him back on the field could be beneficial. Get everybody healthy and prepare for the second half of the season, because as you just mentioned, the Giants now look like playoff contenders, and they need to make that push. They need to keep winning these games, and they probably need to not get in so many late fourth quarter opportunities, because you're not going to win those 100% of the time. For some reason, the Giants are, but it's not necessarily sustainable. So it's time for the Giants to start focusing on that back half of the season, how they can be better, and how they can start getting ahead in some games and playing with a lead and securing some wins.
Absolutely. So Matt, Kadarius Toney, definitely an elite level player when he's on the field, always seemed to be injured. The hamstrings, the comments he said after he was traded, I'm not even injured anymore, definitely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. The Giants seemingly probably just kept him off the field. And we're like, let's just keep him healthy. That way his trade value isn't destroyed before we even get rid of him. How are you feeling about Toney, departing? And, do you think this team is going to get better because of it, or do you think maybe we took a step backward?
Honestly, I feel that there's a lot of mixed emotions with Kadarius Toney being traded. I mean, we got another third-round pick. I mean, we know that third-round picks are definitely like gold as well. And we got a seventh-rounder. Sometimes you find gems in the seventh round as well. But Kadarius Toney, I mean, we saw what he could do against Dallas, and he was such a big talent coming out. Nobody knew anything really about him when he got picked 20th overall. But then when you started looking at tape on him, then you saw him do what he did with Dallas, you're like, man, this guy can be really great when he's on the field. And that's the key thing, is when he's on the field and he's healthy and he's able to do what Kadarius Toney can do, he's very dangerous. And I was really looking forward to seeing Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney being on the field at the same time, because, man, two speedsters and two guys that can just stop on a dime, that's a rough thing to defend. But the overall feeling of Toney being gone, and if he's already kind of coming at the Giants like that as the organization, maybe you weren't supposed to be a Giant. That's what I feel.
I think that's a pretty solid take. What are you thinking, Anthony?
So the part of the Kadarius Toney trade that we haven't really discussed yet, Alex, that I do want to talk about is, looking back on it, hindsight's always 20/20, and we got Evan Neal out of the situation. But when you look back on it, that trade down with the Chicago Bears, we landed Kadarius Toney with the 20th pick, but with the 11th overall pick, or the 10th overall pick rather, Micah Parsons goes to the Dallas Cowboys, or the 12th pick. Sorry, it was the 12th pick. So when you look back on that, Alex and Matt, when you're taking a look, do you have a sense of regret over Dave Gettleman's decision there? Do you wish Micah
Yes.
Parsons was a New York Giants?
Obviously.
Alex, you know how big of a fan I was of Micah
both
Parsons
were.
entering that draft. I was like obsessed with the guy. I was like, I don't care about the red flags, whatever. Kadarius Toney's red flags were different from Micah Parsons' red flags to me. I just thought Micah Parsons was like a generational talent. So now I look back on this trade, now that Kadarius Toney isn't even with the team. And again, shout out to Joe Schoen for getting a 3rd and a 6th. I thought that was an incredible deal. Great business from him. But looking back on it, man, Micah Parsons would have been a great fit with the New York Giants.
Man, he would have. God, I feel like he would have been like second coming of LT, and I know that's kind of bold to say, but I mean, we see what the guy does with the Cowboys. I mean, the guy shuts down a whole offense by himself. He disrupts it solely.
Yeah, he is. He's that good. He's that good. And I mean, who did they get? So they ended up with Evan Neal with the second pick.
So they got Evan Neal with the 7th pick, and with the 5th pick, they got Kayvon Thibodeau. But the argument would be they would get Micah Parsons, and then probably with the 5th pick instead of Thibodeau, they would get Evan Neal. So I don't know. You weigh the pros and cons there. I'm happy to have Thibodeau. I'm happy to have Evan Neal. But just looking back on it again, hindsight's always 20/20. But Dave Gettleman, man, he made some questionable decisions during his time as GM, as we know. That's putting it pretty kindly. But
yeah. So
I
guess
don't know, man.
The argument really is: would you rather Evan Neal or Micah Parsons, or would you rather Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau, a 3rd and a 6th round pick? Right? Like, we know Micah Parsons is elite. We know Kayvon Thibodeau is looking like he could be elite. He's shown us flashes that I'm like, okay, you know what? This guy's got it. He's got what it takes to be successful in New York. He has the great attitude. He's a great locker room guy. Everyone loves the guy. I mean, he's become a staple already on this team. And I think that he could be just as good as Micah Parsons. I don't think anything is stopping him from being just as good, if not better, than Micah Parsons. Again, we haven't seen it yet, but he's trending in the direction I think he's going to be a very good player for a very long time. And with that being said, I think that I stick with what we got, man. I like Kayvon Thibodeau. I like Evan Neal. I like the 3rd and the 6th round pick. Like, look at Daniel Bellinger. That's a 4th round pick right there that Joe Schoen got. A 3rd round pick. Who knows what Cordell Flott's a 3rd round pick. He doesn't look so good so far, but he could develop into something. He's a little bit young. 3rd round picks for Joe Schoen. 6th round picks. Darian Beavers is a 6th round pick. He would have been starting already. We would have gotten a lot of value out of those picks. A 3rd and a 6th round pick already. So I feel as though I trust Joe Schoen. I trust the decision making. And the problem is now you're down another receiver. And Matt, you made a really good point before in the sense that, that Dallas game put Kadarius Toney on the map, but it was only one game, right? It was only one game. We needed to see more. We need to see consistency. And the idea of KT and Wandale being on the field at the same time was extremely exciting. We don't have to really worry about that anymore because simply I feel as though Brian Daboll isn't going to play guys who don't practice. And I think that was the reality of the situation. Kadarius Toney was never practicing. How could you get him installed in the offense and get him installed in a game plan if he's never going to practice? So I'll ask you this, Matt. When you're looking at the wide receiver core for the Giants right now, Galladay's still a couple weeks away, most likely. You got David Sills, Richie James, Wandale looks great, Darius Slayton. Is there anyone that you think that the Giants should go after to maybe improve this wide receiver core, maybe give up some draft capital to get it done?
Man, honestly, my favorite is Jerry Jeudy, hands down. I mean, I've seen that guy play in college. The way that he runs routes is insane. The guy can move, and he stays healthy, which is great. And he's got speed just like Kadarius Toney. He's my number one. I want Jerry Jeudy on the Giants. Now, if we are not able to get that, and we're going to stick with the receivers that we have because, again, we trust in Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And if we need to have any more extra strength, I would say it would be on the tight ends. Because losing Bellinger was huge. I mean, the guy, wow, so many impact plays that he had already as a rookie, and now he has to have surgery on his eye, which, man, what a sucky injury that was.
Seriously.
But I know one report was saying that tight end Mike Gesicki from the Dolphins, he was a favorite to come to us. Now, I don't really know how well he is as a run blocker, but he's going to have to become a good one if he's going to be with the Giants. And I know that our coaching staff would get him to that point. And I think that he would probably come in and he'd be more for our offense to catch, crucial, third down, second down stuff, I would say. But as far as a run blocker, I think our coaching staff could get him there and he could become a pretty elite tight end. And that would not be a bad combo to have Bellinger back with Gesicki.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a pretty good idea, Mike Gesicki there. I know that I've seen him kind of swirling in the trade rumors, but I think, you mentioned Jerry Jeudy. If you've been watching for a while, I know you have, you know that I had an obsession similar to the one
Yes.
that I had with Micah Parsons. I had one for Jerry Jeudy in that draft. I love Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, my favorite position in the sport. Love to study it, love to watch receivers on tape, and his route running. He's one of the best route runners to ever play college football. And now he's entering the NFL, and he's, a couple of years in, and he's still a phenomenal route runner, but he's kind of trapped in this Denver Broncos offense that seems like it doesn't know how to utilize his skill set, doesn't favor the route runners as much as it favors the big body catching traffic guys. But the Giants favor the route runners, and I think he's a good fit. And of course, there's a connection with Brian Dable, coached him at Alabama for a year. I think that makes a lot of sense. If they can go out there and they can land Jerry Jeudy for a reasonable price, I'm going to be over the moon. I'll probably buy his jersey immediately. I love Jerry Jeudy, man. He really is one of my favorite players in the NFL that doesn't play for the Giants. So I'm all in on that. If the Giants want to go out there and bolster their wide receiving core, I think Jerry Jeudy is the main name. But there are a couple other names to keep an eye on. Chase Claypool, reportedly, it's going to be a second-round price tag. That's
too
a little
much
steep for me. Definitely too steep for me. I don't think I'm in on Chase Claypool, but another name that you could consider is Brandon Cooks. Now, there's a fun stat about Brandon Cooks. If he gets traded again, he'll be tied for the most traded player of all time in NFL history. He's just been on so many teams and traded so many times. I believe this would be his fourth or fifth time getting traded, but Brandon Cooks is another name to consider. Again, a speedy route runner, kind of fits what the Giants like on offense. So I'm curious to know what you guys think of that name.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks is an interesting player. Just to reference Jeudy one last time, he gives me very Brian Dable vibes, simply because you look at what the Buffalo Bills did in terms of bringing a guy like Stephon Diggs, and Jerry Jeudy gives me like Stephon Diggs light vibes. He's a very good route runner. He's fast, agile. People will bring up the idea that he drops a lot of passes, and he does have some issues dropping passes at times. He has a 52% career catch rate, but who's to say that doesn't improve with better quarterback play? I mean, we're talking about Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater as his quarterbacks last couple of years, and Daniel Jones is a much better accurate quarterback. His completion percentage, his adjusted completion percentage, I think is 81% this year. These guys have been dropping passes like crazy. So Jerry Jeudy, the health has been a little bit of a concern in the past, but most of it has been freak injuries, like being rolled up on his ankle and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. I think it actually happened against the Giants. So I do really like the aspects of the prospect rather of Jerry Jeudy joining this team, because I think he does have WR1 potential with good coaching, and a player of his magnitude with the speed and agility and route running he does contain would take a lot of pressure off of Saquon. It would take a lot of pressure off of Wandale, a lot of our other players. And, that attention allocated to another receiver of his magnitude would just be better for everybody. The question is, how much are they going to want for him? Because like you said, Chase Claypool, a second round pick, that's too much for me. And I don't really think he fits the style of offense we're running. Is a lot more of a strength, physical presence, kind of like a Kenny Galladay. He's a little bit faster, a little bit better of a route runner than Kenny, but I don't think he necessarily fits the mold exactly for what we were looking for. I think Jerry Jeudy definitely fits the mold for what we're looking for. So the question is, what would you be willing to give up for him, Matt, if you're looking like what kind of draft capital?
Man, honestly, if we're going to get Jerry Jeudy on the Giants, who's definitely will be a difference maker from game number one, I definitely would give up a third rounder for him for sure. I have no problem with that. Third, and you want to throw in a little bit extra sauce, let's give him a fifth. Because you give us Jerry Jeudy with the amount of talent that we already have with Rondale Robinson, and I know that we're not like big fans of Darius Slayton because sometimes he has butterfingers, but at the same time, he also does come through when we need him to. And then David Sills and Richie James. I mean, name a better work ethic for second or third or fourth string wide receivers that made the team in the offseason. I think that Jerry Jeudy would just elevate us so much more. And not having Kenny Galladay on the field, I don't really care, if I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, I don't think that he even wants to play football anymore at this point. And I like that Dable is putting the guys in that really want to play and leave their hearts on the field.
I like that. That's a really good take, because I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, is in the sense that if you're not going to give 100% effort, you're not going to play. And David Sills, is he the best player on the team? Absolutely not. But does he go 100% every play? Yes, he does. And Kenny Galladay does not do that. And that, by the way, is what spurs better culture. That is why the culture was never fixed here under Shermer or Joe Judge, because they would pay who was being paid the most. They would never play who actually deserved to play. And I think that was a big difference that we've noticed so far in this season compared to past ones is that the guys who deserve to play are actually getting on the field. And that's why we're winning, because they're putting 100% effort in, not the ones who are making $50 million and don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Anthony, I'll ask you this same question. What would you be willing to give up for Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, I'm willing to actually give up that second round pick. I wouldn't give it up for Chase Claypool, but I would give it up for Jerry Jeudy. And
Yeah.
some people might say that's a little steep. Maybe it's a bit much, but for Jeudy, man, I do see that WR1 potential. And I just love, Alex, what you were saying with Stephon Diggs and the way that he fit into the Buffalo Bills offense under Brian Dable. I do see that with Jerry Jeudy. And another thing that I think we should keep in mind here is Daniel Jones has been pressured a lot. The Giants haven't been able to drop into many true passing sets because of the amount of pressure he's facing. The number one way to combat that through the air is to have a receiver who can get open immediately through good route running. And that's Jerry Jeudy. So you're talking about a quick slant that he can catch and take to the house. That's Jerry Jeudy. And that's exactly what the Giants offense is missing. Now, they do have Wan'Dale Robinson who can do things similarly. He does a lot of that stuff underneath. You can design a lot of plays for him, get the ball to him short and let him run upfield. But for Jeudy, man, the way that he runs routes, it's perfect for a quarterback who's under a lot of pressure. If the quarterback can hang tough in the pocket and deliver those throws, Judy's going to get open on a quick out route or curl route, whatever the case might be, a slant route like I mentioned earlier. That is perfect for the Giants offense. That's the element that it's missing in the receiving game. So if you are willing to make that push, I mean, this is a move that you make if you're trying to compete and go deep in the playoffs, in my opinion. You go after Jerry Jeudy. He can be that spark plug. He can have that breakout season with the change of scenery, especially in the Big Apple with the New York Giants. So I'm definitely willing to give up that second round pick. And if the Giants go ahead and make that deal, again, I'll be over the moon, and I'll be saying I think the Giants could definitely push their way into the playoffs and maybe pick up a couple of wins.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt, let's talk about this week 8 against Seattle. Definitely a big game for us. The Giants seemingly can beat teams that they're better than, but this is also a weird stat. Somehow the Giants against Seattle is the only game this week with 2 teams with winning records, which is just, who the hell would have thought that at this point in the season? I certainly didn't, but I'll tell you what, Geno Smith, they're getting the most out of him, and I respect that guy. He's been tossed around like a rag doll from team to team and backup to backup, and now he's finally getting an opportunity. He's running with it, and I respect the hell out of that from him. And then they got that stud rookie running back, Kenneth Walker. So the Giants need some guys to step up in this game. I figure each of us will give our player that has to really make that impact, be the difference on either side of the ball. So, Matt, I'll give you the first go. Who in this game needs to step up to give the Giants the win?
Me personally, I've been waiting for this for weeks. I want to see Kayvon Thibodeau go out there and shut it down like the Micah Parsons he's supposed to be. And I know he's a rookie, and I know he's going to be doing it. But if you get Kayvon Thibodeau out there and he just starts to eat, and he sacks, stops the run game, especially with that Kenneth Walker guy. I mean, my goodness, that guy just runs so angry, and we need someone even more angrier to stop him. And I think Kayvon is that guy. And I would really love to see Kayvon come out of there with I'd love to see 2 sacks by him, and I would love to see him just stopping that run on the edge. I would love to see him have like one of his best games of the season so far. I mean, he's had some really awesome plays towards the end of different games, and I mean, he's just been Mr. Clutch for us as well. But if I could see Kayvon Thibodeau come out there and just shut it down by himself, I would just be over the moon on that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's got to be that impact player, and seemingly he shows up in the fourth quarter too, which is what I like the most about him. Is that he sometimes will be quiet for the first half, and then when it matters most, man, he shows up and he turns on the motor, he puts up the gears. So I think that's the sign of a great player, though. When they come up in big moments, you can be quiet the whole game, but you get a sack or 2 sacks down the stretch there in the fourth quarter when your team needs it. He's the closer, man. He's like Mariano Rivera for this Giants team. So, hopefully he can turn into that for us, and really, maybe we'll make a t-shirt out of it one day. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But Anthony, who's your player to kind of help secure this win against Seattle in Week 8?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at Tay Crowder, a player who's had his ups and downs with the New York Giants ever since he joined the team. And I think that when you're looking at Tay Crowder, especially over the past few weeks, he's improved and he's done a lot better in run defense, especially that game against Chicago. That was a great game from him. And the Giants are going to have to play a similar game plan this week against the Seattle Seahawks offense because it's very run-centric, and they do have an angry, violent, bruising running back in Kenneth Walker. So if anyone needs to step up, it's the inside linebackers. You could even take Jalen Smith as well. He's been getting increased playing time week by week, and I like what he's brought to the defense. So I'm keying in on Tay Crowder. If we can get another really solid game out of him like we got against Chicago, slow down Kenneth Walker a little bit, play that bend don't break defense, then the Giants defense can hopefully capitalize on a couple of interceptions or a fumble here or there, and then the Giants offense can, capitalize on that and secure the win. So I'm looking at the linebackers. If they can keep the running game in check for the Seattle Seahawks, I think that's the key to winning this game.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good take. And I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson, my spark plug. Love Wan'Dale. Huge fan of his. If you guys have listened to this podcast for a while, and the last couple of weeks, he's really started to get a little bit more of an impact and really getting some more reps. Got knocked out a little bit early last game, but made an impact nonetheless. 6 catches on 8 targets. And I think he's going to get a touchdown this game. I think that if Seattle's offense remains as potent as it has been, and the Giants' run defense hasn't been great, the Giants' offense is going to have to match, and they're going to need someone to step up. And yes, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, all the attention is on them, which is why Wan'Dale Robinson often gets forgotten about. And he's a guy, really strong route runner, strong runner, big fan of his on the offensive side. And I think he's primed to really solidify his spot and really carve out a role that, could signify a much greater future for him, if not for the rest of the season, especially as we push toward the postseason, the playoffs, if we can continue to win games like this. So I think Wan'Dale definitely stands out to me. But that wraps up this episode, my friends. Take a look at Kadarius Toney, some receivers that we like how we can win this game in week 8 against Seattle. A very beatable team, but we got to come to play. Some injuries that we're dealing with on the offensive line, nonetheless, is definitely difficult. But Matt, really appreciate you coming on for Fan Friday. Much love as always, and really appreciate you tuning into the Fireside Giants on a daily basis, my man.
Hell yeah, guys. Go Big Blue. You guys take care of yourself. Thanks for having me.
You too. Have a good one. Make sure to like and subscribe, everyone. Catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.